Welcome to the True Colours podcast, where we share our views on life, relationships, and culture, exploring big questions and providing simple answers to them, with your hosts, Jay Clare and Sally Olver.
Welcome to True Colours podcast. Hello, Sally.
Hello, Jason. What are we doing? What was that? So,
it's been a crazy couple of weeks.
We're just 30 minutes out of schedule, but that's all right. Little bit of scheduling difficulties, a few technical difficulties, but you know what? We're here. Here we are.
We just reverted back to old technology called Skype. Oh. And at least my picture quality is much better through Skype, actually, I find.
Yeah, I don't know about mine. What do I know about picture quality?
Oh, is that a new headset?
Yeah, you noticed.
I noticed your headset. Of course, I look at it every time I talk to you.
Did you notice my headset, or did you notice the reduction in distortion?
Probably a combination of both. It's a good call, though.
Yeah.
That was fairly unpleasant to listen to.
Oh my gosh, seriously. The last two that I listened to, I was like, oh, that's not good.
So what's news in your world?
Oh man, where do you want to start? Mumming. That's just like huge in and of itself. That's just like the answer to everything, right? What are you laughing at?
And he's punching holes in the jacket over next to me, and I'm like, oh.
What's she punching holes for?
She's studying.
Studying to punch holes.
No, not studying. Studying.
Studying.
Like studs.
It's very punk.
Very creative work to the side.
Well, and he's very creative.
I've got some big news. Some very big news.
Are you pregnant?
I'm pregnant.
Congratulations, man. That's amazing.
It's a COVID baby. I stood more than 1.5 meters closer to someone and I felt pregnant. That's basically what happened.
Hey, that's miraculous. I'm impressed.
So a lot has happened. I am officially now a caravan owner.
Yes.
We bought a caravan and we bought a big F-off tent, like a 5 meter wide.
Yes.
Bell tent, yeah. So that's going to be our accommodation over the next 6 months or so in the jungle somewhere.
6 months?
Yeah. Gonna have a crack.
That's dope, man.
Mm.
You'll never regret it. You will never ever regret it.
Well, I hope not.
No, you won't. You won't. It's like any type of travel. You know, you can spend thousands and thousands on travel. You can spend the same amount on just like anything else. Pick something, and it's just not as rewarding as travel. There's nowhere that I've ever been, and no amount of money that I've ever spent that I've gone, oh man, I really wish I hadn't have done that.
Yeah, it's technically, as I put it, it's like a bit of a permanent holiday, even though, and he's like, oh, kids and work, and it's like, yeah, you know, you get other things out of it,
So
you know.
So you're just going to work on the road, or?
I am going to. I found a co-working space in this town, which is like, I don't know, about 25 minutes from where we're staying. And I've got like a permanent spot there, like my own mini office that I'm paying to use.
That is really cool. I'm really, really happy for you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
We're very excited, aren't we? Yes. I'm so excited. I'm so freaking
Was
out.
that
at the
was
same
that a
time.
yes? Was that yeah? But anything worth doing is going to be
It's worth
a freak
donuts.
out.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
at least you won't die going, oh, we really
Yeah,
should have done that.
yeah. For perspective, I guess you moved from Melbourne to Perth,
I did.
but you moved into a home.
I did. But it was still unexpected. We didn't know what it was going to be like. We didn't know if it would be a successful venture or if it wouldn't, but we just went, you know what?
Gonna do it.
Just going to do it. I mean, we live in Australia. Like, there's not a lot that can really go wrong. If you're employed and you've got half a brain, it's kind of hard to get it wrong in Australia.
Yeah, half a
And
brain.
if it goes pear-shaped, just chuck a U-bolt and come back.
Well, that's the funny part is we're basically packing up the house and putting it into storage in Melbourne. So, if we choose or we like where we're living for the next 6 months, we find somewhere that we really like, we might stay there.
Right.
We may not really like it at all, and we come back, but all of our stuff's here. We just need to find a home, and boom.
And so, where is home? Where's the
Home?
Do you have a destination, or is that yet to be confirmed? Or
yeah, it's a place called Collins Creek in in northern New South Wales. It's the town that I was talking about is called Kyogle. It's about 25 minutes from there. That's not like a huge place. It's kind of like a small town, I would say. Are they got a Coles and Woolies? No Coles or Woolies. So that's no Coles or Woolies. I think the closest one's at Lismore, which is probably another 30 minutes away. So we're like an hour from a Coles.
I think it sounds blissful.
Yeah.
I think it sounds blissful.
Yeah, the property that we're staying in is pretty jungly.
So is there a population in Colin Creek? Oh, Collins Creek.
Not Colin.
I seriously thought you said Collins Creek. That's why I was like, okay.
No, Collins.
Collins.
I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you. We don't know much. We're just going.
Yeah.
And it's almost a little bit like, I was thinking about it as, there's not much information in place. It's not like going to Perth or Sydney or Brisbane.
Right.
It's like you're going to a random spot. There's not much. Like even the kinder there, they didn't really have a website. Like Annie couldn't get any extra information. So it's just like, okay, I guess we'll sign our kid up here, huh?
So yeah, it's seriously.
Yeah.
It's kinder. It's kinder. You don't like it? Homeschool her. End of. Next.
No, but like Annie was saying, like in these towns, everything's like word of mouth. You don't really need a website. Everyone's just talking.
I think in these sort of towns, you don't really need anything but each other.
You know what they did have? I found they have a video store.
Oh, okay. So listeners, for those of you who don't realise why we're having a moment here, is because that was our first job together. Late 90s?
Yeah, it would have been like 97.
Yeah. Jay and I worked together in a video store for years.
We had our own. It was the only analogy I could really make is that think of Empire Records
100%.
with uniforms and movies instead. It was pretty funny. Actually,
I'm going to get emotional. Stop it. That's exactly what it was. It was that was a good era, man. That was a really, really special era.
I loved how people thought that you're like some kind of movie expert. I was asking for your recommendations, and I'm like,
Well, okay. To be fair, movie expert. Okay, we weren't Margaret and David. Fine, but we watched a lot of film.
Still do.
All we did was go out drinking and watch movies. Good times.
Yeah.
It was so good.
I'm just trying to think of like a epic moment. I can't remember if it was me or Ange now. This is how bad my memory is. I think it was Ange. Yeah. For some reason, we always had this thing about doing the 2-liter Coke challenge.
Oh yeah. We just skull Coke.
And there's Ange's. I think it was her turn to. I think she was going first. Actually, I didn't even have a go. But I remember she went for it, and she's like sculling, and then just like lost it. And that shit went everywhere. I was like, worth it.
Okay, so there is no way I could do that now, because all right, again, giving our listeners a little bit of context, we would shut shop at 12 o'clock at midnight, and then we wouldn't get out of there until 12:30 or something, and often would go to someone's house and watch a movie. Like, anyway,
I remember seriously some nights, like in summer when it was busy, like it was just a crazy night. Everyone was just getting DVDs, still videos. I remember as well, and the people got the 10 weeklies for $10, and they're like got this pile of massive videos.
Always the same movies over and over again. Yeah.
And but on some nights when it got real busy, I remember like, there's that person who knocked on the door at 11:55, and you're like, come in, be quick though. And then I lock the doors, and this asshole just takes like
forever.
Seriously, 25 minutes or something to like pick a video, and then you're like got all these things banked up, and would literally be 1:30, I think, by the time you actually got out of there. Like at a video shop. Yeah, midnight. All those midnight drop-offs.
I would just go out and smoke a dart.
Smoke a dart. And the best part was how the
until they got out.
That the Macca's and I think it was Red Rooster was literally
right across the road. It was oh my gosh. Red Rooster. Okay, so it went Macca's, Red Rooster, Barnacle Bills. No one went there.
Barnacle Bills.
Remember Barnacle Bills?
Yeah, that was there. I don't think I ever went there.
No. I went to Macca's every time.
Yeah, and Servo. If you want a bag of, I think a bag of chips at work.
My boyfriend worked at the Servo.
Did you have a Servo boyfriend?
Yeah.
What was the Servo boyfriend's name?
Shane.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, he worked at the Servo big time.
He did.
Was it the Servo just there?
Yes.
Was it?
Yeah. Yep.
So Sally went to the Blockbuster at the Servo across the road.
I had boyfriends dotted all around Narre Warren.
Shane, my Servo boyfriend.
Yep.
Oh, you didn't end up with a Servo husband, so that's fine.
No, I didn't, but I loved him at the time so deeply. He was one of my like greatest.
Don't do it.
He was.
He was one of my greatest loves.
No, like
Servo Shane.
Servo Shane. Yeah. What's wrong with that? What?
Nothing's wrong.
He had other qualities. He was an excellent musician.
Randomly, do you remember Shane Tuck?
Yeah.
He died. Yeah, he committed suicide. Yeah, like I think it was about 6 weeks ago. Yeah, they had like a thing at the footy for him.
Can you take this part? Can you like delete this part?
What's wrong?
Well, he was I mean, he wasn't a close friend of mine, but he was definitely a really good friend of Shane and Leo's. He was around all.
Yeah. It was probably like, I don't know, 6 weeks ago. Yeah, like Richmond Football Club had a massive thing for him. I think there's a Veil of Honour and stuff at one of the games and stuff. So.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Was there any?
I think it was 39. Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, he would have been about that.
I'm pretty sure it was suicide. So it's, man.
Did they say how or why or?
No, just suicide. But it's interesting how common it is still. Like, it just blows my mind. Like, a guy who was reasonably successful in life had created quite a profile for himself, but it's just full on.
Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot.
I thought you would have heard.
That. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
That's
poor bastard.
Absolutely devastating news. Wow. Yeah, no, I knew Shane really well. He was around all the time. So he wasn't my friend directly, but he was at our house all the time. Like we lived we lived together.
House.
Yeah, like we lived together. We lived together for a good. Me, Shane, and Leo. We lived together for a good year. Good times.
Did he play an instrument?
No.
Did he try? No, he wasn't.
No, that was someone else. Oh no! Yes, my gosh, yes, he was the drummer.
That's right.
And he was bloody good too. Of course he was. Yes, he was the drummer. Oh man. Oh,
it was like the whole band lived together.
Yeah, there you go. Like I was saying, he was around all the time, but I had a different scenario in my mind because it was quite a festive home. Let's just leave it at that, shall we? But yeah, of course, he was around for band. That's why he was all. I mean, they were mates as well, of course. But yeah, they had band practice all the time. Yeah, I knew Shane very well because both Richmond supporters. This was before he even started playing too.
Yeah, he ended up playing for Richmond.
Yeah, he did.
Wow, he was actually a really good player.
He really was.
He was like one of my favourite players when he was playing.
He was.
I had a pseudo connection to him, but yeah, just I don't know, just everything you would expect in a person like that. Yeah, it was just like a good guy, a good all around person, good player.
He was a good player, but he was a really cool kid as well. He was just one of those. Yeah, he was really funny, and just someone you wanted around. Definitely.
Yeah, old school stories, hey?
Yeah. Gee, this mental illness thing, man, it's
crazy.
It's
without any pun intended. That's so harsh.
Yeah, like I don't know what's happening. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing as a society, as a people? My gosh.
It is one of the things I'm looking forward to in going away, is just being away from everything. Sounds harsh, but just getting, as I said the other day, getting a real dose of nature. I'm really looking forward to waking up and just smelling
trees,
nature.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I think if someone isn't really aware of their surroundings and how their body, mind, spirit, biochemistry, etc., responds to that, you can just be in that rat race until the day you die. But then I think there are some of us that sort of look at our surroundings and look at the way that we're doing things and go, you know what? Nah, I'm not doing this. Like, I've done it for long enough, and I'm really starting to question my decisions, my motives. Am I growing? Am I any closer to where I wanted to be? All of those things. And if the answer's no, then you do have to make some pretty dramatic changes, or we'll just stay the same.
You do. Like I was even just thinking about the other day how literally in I would say like a 6-year period, I went from just like an average wage, and then kind of just really accelerated my career and was earning like really good money. And I was like, oh, money. And then I started buying things. I ended up buying a car. And like after a while, I was like, I don't even know why I bought this car.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And ended up selling it because I didn't need it.
You do. You start to question your motives.
And then I got to a stage where I'm just like, I'm not really motivated by, like, I like the idea of having money for security, as in to know I've got nothing to worry about. But
yeah. Food on the table. You've got a family.
And to experience things, but like I don't know, it's just this whole idea of, the rat race and running on this treadmill just to earn money, just to pay this, just to pay that. It's really annoying.
Well, I feel like if I go right back to my first job ever, my first job, and speaking of Shane and Leo, I was living with them when I had my first full-time job.
First real job?
My first real job, I was living with them at the time. And so I was on, I think, $29,000 a year, right? But I had food, I had a roof over my head, I had clothes, I had a car, I had all of those things. All of that was sorted, right? But then it's like, the more money you make, the more ways you find to spend that surplus money.
It's the spending trap.
Yeah, like no one sort of goes, okay, I started off with $29,000. Now I'm making $40,000. I'll save that $11,000 surplus because I've got extra. No, we're going to get a bigger car, and we're going to get more clothes, and we're going to go to the restaurant more, or buy more booze or whatever. Like that, if you don't bring an awareness to your finances, you'll just spend. So are you really making any more money? Are you? I mean, you are, but you're spending it. So what I'm asking is, are you any better off?
Well, no, if you adjust your spending to what you're earning, then you always end up being in the same position of just this neutrality of some kind, where it's not moving forward. You're moving forward in a chain of something, but you're not moving forward in regards to your economic improvement in life. You just increase your borrowing capacity, basically. And that's what people end up doing. And, there's no doubt I did this even with this place that I live in now.
Same with this place.
You buy stuff and you're like, you didn't really need to go that much. But you kind of just...
Well, I mean, think back to the house that you grew up in, or the house that I grew up in. There weren't 2 toilets. I mean, maybe there was in yours, but there was not 2 toilets. There was no ensuite.
Yeah,
I'm an only child, so yes, I had my own bedroom. Fine, right? But I know plenty of people from our generation who didn't have their own bedroom. Now it's like, okay, everyone has to have their own bedroom. Everyone has to have a toilet and an ensuite and a this and a that. And it's like, well, they don't. We choose to give that to them.
Yeah, we lived in a 3-bedroom.
Fine. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not. It's fine. Like, if you've got the means to do it, it's okay. It's cool. But I'm just saying, that it's easy to overextend.
Yeah, that's the same. Like when we grew up, I think at one stage we were in a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom. The house was tiny. I mean, it was like tiny. Like I think about it now. Like I reckon my house now is like an apartment, but still bigger than it. I remember it was the 6 of us in 3 bedrooms. So my parents obviously had a bedroom.
Yeah.
Then me and Dave shared a bedroom.
Yep.
And my grandma and Clydie were kind of like in a room.
Yeah.
Until my grandma
guess,
passed, and then
at no point did you sit there and go, I could really do with my own bedroom and an ensuite. Like you just had no grid for that.
We had separate bedrooms for a while. I think it would have been when it was just my parents, me and Dave. But then once my grandma came, that's when it all changed. Grandma, Dad. And then I didn't actually have my own bedroom until I was 14.
Yeah.
Dave would have been 16. That would have been terrible. And share with your little brother. Piss off, leave me alone. Yeah. So, we're going to talk about our topics. We've only been talking for about 25 minutes so far, just easing our way into the discussion.
Talk to me about some airline jazz.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. It's been very controversial. So obviously a lot of things are changing now with the COVID normals and whatever you want to call it. And Qantas, the CEO, recently came out and was talking about how if you want to fly internationally, you're going to have had a COVID vaccine.
Yeah.
And that sparked really interesting response. I thought, okay, I'm interested to see what happens here, because me personally, I'm as far from an anti-vaxxer as you possibly find. I've vaccinated my kids.
So have I.
Me and my wife are vaccinated. I think when we've gone on holidays, we get vaccines and stuff like that. But for some reason, I'm very skeptical of a vaccine which has been developed within like less than a year. It's like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like logically, it doesn't make any sense. Like I look at, they've had coronaviruses for many years now and never created a vaccine for it. I mean, they've got a vaccine for the flu, but that really changes. So it's just also, it's a very authoritarian thing to do, to suggest that to get on this flight to go internationally, even though you might not have it, actually I should say the fair chance is, like a bigger chance is that you don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
So the need for a vaccine to go on a flight seems ridiculous. I mean, and if you've had the vaccine, what are you worrying about one person who hasn't had the vaccine? I don't get it. It doesn't logically make much sense to me. And I see the whole argument behind it where people are like, oh, well, you've still got a choice. It means you just don't get to go on a flight. And it's like, is that really a choice? Where do we draw the line and what?
Well, the choice has been taken away from you, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, it's a really interesting study in the way that people react to it. I don't know. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, I think it's completely natural for you to be skeptical about a vaccine that's only been around for 12 months. That, to me, that's not skeptical. That's wise. You know, whether or not it's safe or not safe or whatever, I think is irrelevant. The fact that you're asking questions about it, or we are asking questions about, I think that's completely fine. What, you know, if we're going to put something in our body that is completely new, I'm not saying I won't. I'm not saying I won't. What I am saying is I'm going to research.
I'm happy for other people to be the test case first. If they're all good.
Let's see how that lot go, and then I'll decide whether I'm gonna.
So I'll just travel Australia for the next 5 years, and then when I'm 45, I'll jump on a plane and go overseas. I'm like, 5 years later, any problems with that vaccine? No. Okay, let's go.
Well, to be honest, I probably wouldn't have the money to go anywhere in the next 5 years overseas anyway. So, meh.
Yeah, I mean, dude, just talking about, speaking of going on Qantas, imagine going on Qantas with a family of 5 to anywhere. That's like anywhere starts for you, like just flights is like minimum 5-6 grand already, right?
Oh, listen, when we when we come to Melbourne, like it's generally, I mean, this year has been like my ability to come over has just been stripped. I just haven't been able to come over. But generally, when I come and visit, I come by myself. There's a reason for that because it's just too expensive.
It's ridiculous.
And that is like within the country.
Yeah, I'm the one thing I'm actually excited about the move up north as well is the actual flights aren't too bad. So like you'd be able to get at sometimes like a return flight for $150,
Yeah.
but most of the time it's like about $300. So it's not too bad.
It's not too bad, and it's not a long flight.
And I personally can claim it on tax because I'm going back home for work.
Boom.
Well, technically that's why I would be coming back. So it is too legit.
Like, when am I going to see you, man?
I don't know.
You don't seem bothered by that at all. Thanks.
I haven't seen you for that often for the last, how long has it been now?
I've been here for 7 years, 7.5 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's a while.
Yeah.
You're basically from that other country called WA.
I am forever a Melbourneite. I live in Perth. I am a Melbourneite at heart forever.
Technically, it'd be about half that you've left. If you stay there, it would mean half your life in either side. By the time you get to like
who knows
80 or whatever it is.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, okay. So airlines. Look, I understand why they're doing it. It makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's very.
I take your point that it feels very dictatorish.
Well, I'm not an easy to trust person. Like I don't. You need to earn my trust before to say, "Oh, yeah. You're a government person or a big CEO." Okay, yeah, thank you. I'll believe everything you say. Okay, no worries.
Well,
I just don't get that.
What about what he said in the article? He said that, you know, in discussions with his colleagues who also have airlines, that they're all looking at doing that. Does that,
yeah, I know.
Does that fill you with a bit more confidence? The fact that it's not just Mr. Qantas, but it looks like it'll be that way across the board.
It just feels like that they're getting together to say, yeah, we all agree to it, and they're banding together.
Right.
And again, to your point, is like playing devil's advocate. I totally understand.
Yeah.
Why they're doing, because they're only reacting to, which I will still say to this day, is a massive overreaction. Yes, I get it. People are dying, but this is not the pandemic they once yelled about at the start of this. You know, without saying in America that 2 million people would die. You know, if they said it was a low pandemic in Australia, 20,000 people would die. Like this stuff hasn't happened, and I get it. Like a lot of the actions that governments have taken can be attributed to, you know, the lowering the deaths. But at the end of the day, if you take examples of where it has gone, you know, crazy, like USA, Sweden in lockdown. USA is kind of locking down, but they're too much. Yeah, freedom in America. So, so they've kind of. But you actually look, like this is the thing that people struggle to do. I find is like just look at something critically. Yes, I get it. People are dying. People are dying from this disease. Cool. What's that in the grand scheme of things? And it's like, this is how I think. I can't help it.
Yeah,
but then I looked at the statistics for Sweden and USA on their average deaths per year. And basically, Sweden is going to have less deaths this year than they did, like on average.
Oh.
And USA is going to be about the same. So I rationalize that as saying that in the mix of all things, people dying, the same amount of people still dying. Like,
yeah, but okay, but then my question is, how of that percentage, how many of those were COVID deaths?
I just like strictly.
Yeah. So you're
Not
saying,
a-
like, say Sweden had however many thousand, okay?
I think they had
Cool.
about 5,500 or something deaths.
Right. And that's generally what the trend is for Sweden?
Oh no, so just for COVID, 5,500.
Right. And what's it normally?
Oh, let me bring up the stats. Actually, that's a good question. Let me bring it up. I got the computer out today. So when I look at it, Sweden deaths per year, 2010 to 2020. Here we go. Statista. My friends are Statista. Here we go. So 2010, 90,487. Actually, I'll do the last 3 years. 91,972, 92,185, 88,766, and we've got what, a month to go,
Mm-hmm.
and there are 81,000 this year.
So it's dropped.
Yeah. So if you do the averages, they'll probably get another 7,000. They'll be 88,000 like last year.
Right. So, and then how many of those deaths were from COVID? Does it say, or?
80. So out of the 81,000,
Yeah.
5,500. But then you look at it like, what other deaths has it stopped? So for example, someone who may have died from a heart attack that year got COVID as well. So I think in the mix of the way that the world works is that kind of like,
That's terrible.
well, it's harsh, but like a majority of the deaths have been people in nursing homes, right? So
Yeah.
I think the average life expectancy in a nursing home is, once you're in there, the average before someone dies is like 9 months. So technically, anyone who was in there most likely would have died that year anyway. It's kind of a weird way to look at it.
I feel really disqualified from the discussion because we just have no idea over here in the West. We've got no idea.
My cousin in France has got it, like he's in hospital and everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I read that he, bizarrely, on those PCR tests, the ones that they're using as the gospel to whether or not you've got it or not, he failed it twice. But then when they did a actual real hard study, they're like, oh no, you look like you've got COVID. But the test said no.
Oh dear,
Yeah.
That's not good.
No, I think he's okay. Like he looks pretty. I think they're at a stage now for young people. Like he's a little bit younger than me. Yeah, they got the treatment now. That's why. Interestingly, I always like to try and look at the optimistic side of these things. I can't help it. But like you look at America, and it's like, oh, the cases are going out crazy. Anyway, that's true. That's true. Like the cases versus say in the early period are probably like 5 times higher now. But even though the cases are 5 times higher, the deaths are still lower than before as well. So it's I don't want to use the term herd immunity. I want to talk out of school because I'm not an epidemiologist, but from what it seems like, they've either figured out better ways to treat it, or there's some form of herd immunity sort of getting into the community, and people are fighting it up better, or they're protecting older people better. Like
yeah. But I think also that, like, I hear what you're saying, like maybe the rate of people that have contracted COVID is more than the deaths, right? But I think from their perspective, they don't know if someone contracts COVID, they don't know how that's going to go for that person. They don't know whether that's going to result in a death or not. So that's, I think, do you know what I mean? So I understand that. I understand the argument that go, oh, but this many people got COVID, they didn't die. It's like, okay, like I take your point, but if the next person gets it, they don't know that person's immunity, that like immune system, how robust it is. I think it's a lot of that as well. They can't risk like not knowing how it's going to manifest in each person's body. So hence the umbrella. So what seems like it's quite extreme, I think maybe has got to do with the fact that they're trying to lower the risk of death. Because yes, like one person might have got it was really bad and they came good, and then another person got it and died, and it's not necessarily an age thing all the time.
So why this logic now, given we've had many viruses that have killed many people in the past?
I don't know.
That's the question I ask. Like, to me, it doesn't make sense. Like, I feel like there was a combination of extreme fear pushed at the start to freak people out, and like I still see it now. Sorry, I shouldn't call them that. They're not even useful. They've been brainwashed so hard and scared so much that today, still to this point, they are still walking around the streets with their face mask on.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of the street, I'm like, dude, even people in cars, I'm like, oh my God.
In cars?
Yeah, I can't deal.
Why would they have it on in a car?
I have no idea. Like by themselves. I'm not saying with other people in the car. Like by themselves in a car with a face mask on. It doesn't make
Maybe they forgot. Maybe they forgot.
You think it's been normalized so much that literally it's like a necklace,
like a hat,
a watch,
just a hat on your face. It's like a face hat.
A face napkin. That's what it is. Or is it? It's red blue mask. It's like, what's all these nurses walking around? This is weird.
Yeah. Well, I had a hearing test today, and the doctor that did the test, she wore a mask the whole time.
Yeah.
Didn't bother me. I was just like, you know what, you do you.
Yeah.
I just want to know if I'm deaf or not. That's all.
Will make sense in a closed, confined space. Like, I got no problem. I actually had no problem with face masks early on in closed areas, in shopping centres. Like, I didn't get why they weren't in there. Like,
yeah.
Idiots walking around the fruit and veg section with their dirty hands and an apple got COVID.
I do have a COVID contention. Like, riddle me this. So my 6-year-old daughter, she's in the Australian Girls Choir, right? She's got a concert this Saturday. Only one parent is allowed to come, but yet we have the grand final. Like, what? I don't understand.
There's just way too much hypocrisy. Like
that I don't understand. That I don't understand. And then also, my 12-year-old son next week is going to have his year 6 graduation. So the parents are allowed to be there, but the siblings have to be in a classroom watching the live stream.
Yeah.
You know?
That's bizarre. So who got the ticket? That's what I want to know.
To the Australian Girls Choir?
Yeah, which one of you and Matt?
Me all the way. Nah. I was like, that's mine, bro. Sorry.
Did Matt go, no, I want it? Or was he like, yeah, it's okay?
He knew he had no chance. He's just like, I'm out. Nah. I'm just going to have to put up with the video recording. Distorted.
We need to segue to the next thing, but I do want to tell you about something that I don't know if you know what's coming up, but Mike Tyson, you know, Iron Mike,
Yeah.
he is literally about to have another fight.
It really?
Yeah.
When?
On this Sunday against Roy Jones Jr.
Wow. I wonder where
Two old guys fighting against each other. Have you seen footage of Mike Tyson recently?
I saw him on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, he looks good.
Yeah.
Like I saw some training video and I'm like, oh my God, like I would be scared to still get in the ring with that 55-year-old man.
Yeah.
Dude, he's like...
There's a reason he's Mike Tyson because, I mean, look at him.
I think if they ever decided to create like war soldiers, like base it off, just replica Mike Tyson's, just 10,000 clones of Mike Tyson, send them out to the world. They'll win your wars anytime.
Battle one, right there. Do you know what's like really weird? It's really, really strange. Is I hate violence. I can't stand it. I don't like it. But I watch boxing. What's that?
I like violence when it's not a choice. That's the way of putting it.
So boxing.
Yeah, so like if people choose to combat against you, I'm like, oh, this is out of the norm for me. Like, so it's like this out of reality where two people who've like, no worries, I am gonna kick your ass. Hey, I'm gonna kick your ass. Sweet, I want to watch this. Like, it just...
Why do I love it? Why do I love it? I think
it's very human. I think
Sylvester Stallone. That's what happened.
I will break you.
Rocky.
Yeah. Do you remember Rocky 5? Was it 5 or 4? Where Rocky
4 is my favorite. Which Rocky's yours? Favorite?
Oh yeah, Rocky 4 is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's like it's the most epic of them, but Rocky 1 is still the best one.
Yeah. Say. Well, yeah. Rocky 1's great. I love Rocky 3 as well.
Rocky 3, Apollo Creed.
Yep.
It's like, I don't know why it's funny, but how Sylvester Stallone literally fights a guy like 2 feet taller than him. Like, appreciate it. That's believable. Definitely believable.
That's the whole point. That's what makes it great.
Oh, the guy probably weighs like 45 kilos more than him.
Soundtracks, those electric guitars, and training in a barn. It's all of that.
And the best, I think the actual best part of that whole thing is how the fight itself in the context of the movie takes up like a good, I think 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes of time.
Yes,
like it's nearly the whole fight. It's the in between bits in between the rounds. It's the crowd. They basically create the end scene is just a big fight, really. That's for 30 minutes.
It's so good.
My friend died. I got to avenge my friend. I got to train in Russia. Okay, fight. That's the movie. Basically.
Oh, I want to watch it now. I'm feeling pumped. See, that's the thing. It makes you feel pumped. You want to do something. You want to get motivates you to just like smack something.
I do have like this great memories of literally. I've got old mate on the wall at the moment. Amazing person. One of my favorite people of all time, Bruce Lee. I remember watching his movies, and then you're watching, and you're like, I know how to do karate. And you like have karate fights with your brother or whatever. Yeah. Obviously, you have siblings, so I don't. This is just gloating now.
Karate Kid was the same. You'd watch Karate Kid go out the back and like
do a crane kick. Yes.
Yeah.
Pull out your crane kick. 1 foot. What's this guy doing? Just standing on 1 foot. I'm waiting for you to come.
Yep. Oh. They don't make them like that anymore, Jay. They just don't make them like that anymore.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day, how just those The closest thing that I got to that feeling again was what's that movie? I think I said it was like my number one Christmas movie.
Elf.
Kiss Bang Bang.
Oh
Where
yeah.
I watched that movie and for some reason it feels like it's in the 90s. I don't know
Yeah.
what's about it. Like there's just a thing about like the
vibe.
late 80s, 90s movies that it was like, I don't know if it's me getting old, but it just felt like the heyday when movies were just huge. That was the biggest thing ever. I think they're bigger than music. Movies were the thing.
Was it, or was it where we were at in our lives?
I don't think movies are as important as they used to be.
Yeah.
Like,
And you know what? That's probably because there are so many options now. Okay, so you can stream, you've got Netflix, you've got, so many options. Whereas in our day, it was just cinema, DVD, television. Done. That was it.
yeah,
So that's probably why it was so much more poignant back then.
yeah. I remember, what was it when Forrest Gump came out?
Oh, Forrest Gump. That was huge.
Yeah, hang on. At the same, this is an example of what you wouldn't get today. Forrest Gump and
Oh,
Pulp Fiction were out at the same time. Like, that for perspective is just like two of the best movies ever were out at the same time. Oh, look at that line. Forrest Gump, 25 years later, a bad movie that gets worse.
a bad movie that gets worse.
Yeah, it's all these social justice years, I bet.
What? I don't understand the context of that comment.
I guess I feel like it's aged. I'm not sure. But yeah,
It's aged? What?
Yeah.
But it was made in the 90s. Of course it's aged.
Yeah, I know.
What is the point of that comment? I don't understand. Some of my best favorite movies of all time are like terrible to watch now. But I still love them because they were made for the time that they were made. Right?
What year did that come out?
Forrest Gump? 90s? Late 90s? No.
94. 94.
Yeah, mid-90s.
Movies of... All right, so think about last year. How many awesome movies came out last year?
I have not watched movies in years.
But that's been advertised to you.
I have to watch age-appropriate stuff with kids.
Yeah.
What have I really liked? Spider-Verse. Spideyverse.
You're way too much to the side, by the way. Yeah, you're like, yeah, you gotta get more in the middle.
Spider-Verse was amazing.
Spider-Verse, what's that?
Yeah. So it's obviously a Spider-Man movie, but it was with these incredible animation that I've actually never seen before. It was so good. Soundtrack, it was like incredible. It was just
Let me give you 1994 for you, a snippet of what came out that year. Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, Shawshank.
Pulp Fiction. The
Wow.
Usual Suspects. Ace Ventura. Dumb and Dumber. 4 Weddings and a Funeral. What else we got here? Forrest Gump. Reality Bites.
Wow.
Clerks. Love that movie. Maverick. If you click. Interview with a Vampire. Clear and Present Danger. Legends of the Fall. Speed. Stargate.
Was that in 94?
Yeah, Muriel's Wedding, Priscilla, Natural Born Killers, what else? Ed Wood, if you're into that. Swan Princess, no. Police Academy.
Police Academy 100?
Miracle on 34th Street. My Girl. The Lion King.
Oh, in 94, no.
Yeah, The Mask. Jim Carrey. That's a cracking year.
Cracker year.
Hey, that would be an awesome challenge, actually. What year had the best movies in it? And you have to,
we need to research that.
yeah.
We need to research that.
But you'd also have to include the top 5 from that year. There's a
subjective. That is so subjective.
To you, like everything is subjective.
Yeah.
Like in your opinion, in your humble opinion.
Yeah, well, 94 is looking pretty good.
Top that.
Well, speaking of movies, though.
Yeah.
Maybe we should talk about a movie that's due for release in 2021.
I don't even know what the movie's called, to be honest with you.
It's called Music.
Have you looked it up, have you?
Yeah. Of course
Oh, good. You've done the research. So from what I know, this is simply, as I know it, that the amazing Australian artist Sia, who did some amazing songs, by the way. I like Sia a lot.
Sia is incredible.
So she's releasing a new movie. I think it's about you probably could give more context, but there is some controversy over the fact that it is a movie about a girl with autism. And the fact that she casted Maddie, the girl who she has in all her film clips, I think pretty much, as the main character. And the uproar is that, why haven't they chosen someone with the disability? Can you please, as a mother of 2 kids on the spectrum, can you please give me your perspective, Sally?
Yeah, well, I feel somewhat qualified to enter into this discussion, as you said, having 2 kids on the spectrum and living it. I'm really mad about this, actually. I'm really mad that Sia has copped the barrage of criticism that she's received. I think it's really unfair and it's really uncalled for. And I've got a lot to say about this, actually. So the argument was, why did she cast a neurotypical in this role, right? When the role is a non-verbal ASD teenage girl, right? So the tweets, I read some of the tweets, and the tweets were basically, I won't say who wrote them. I'm not going to out them because it's not about that. It's not about that at all.
Was someone actually famous?
No.
Okay.
No. So people are writing, tweeting, and having an opinion on the unfairness of the casting. Now, the first thing that comes to mind is this. If I think of an acting role for a full-length movie, if I think about the requirements and the demands on a lead actor for a big Hollywood production, right? Mm-hmm. You're talking on average 16 hours a day, on average, right? For weeks and months, possibly.
Mm.
Now, the toll that would take on any ASD child or teenager would be extreme. Because the whole point of the whole point is, generally speaking, and ASD individuals are the same as any other individual. Is every profile is different. Okay, so you can't say, I know an autistic kid, therefore I know all autistic kids. No, you don't, because they all have different profiles. And so you think about it like this: So if you have all these markers for autism, all right, like there's many, but you have all these an equalizer. Some of them are here for this marker, some of them are down there for this marker, some of them are up here for this marker, so it's different for every child, right? But let's just speak in general terms. The demands of a role like that on a non-verbal, or so my two boys are on the spectrum. They're both high functioning, so they're completely verbal, they're continent, they don't have a learning disability, but there are a host of other things that limit them and they struggle with, right? I can tell you right now that the demands and the requirements of that role would not be conducive to what they could deliver, what they would be capable of. There's absolutely no chance. And there was
in your opinion, can I ask you, so your boys you would technically classify as high functioning, yes?
Yes.
Would still struggle with that kind of
pressure.
Gosh.
Yeah. There's no way. There's no way. Jason, I took Samuel to have a haircut today. Okay? I took Samuel to have a haircut. My younger son, so Samuel's 12, my younger son Nate, who's 10, had to be like on a device because the environment of a hairdressing salon is too much. There's noise, there's movement, there's colors, it's sensory overload. That is just a trip to the hairdresser, right? So there was a tweet by an actress on the spectrum, and she said that she has done professional acting roles before, and that she would have been glad to fill in because, okay, so SIA tweeted that they did actually try to give the role to an ASD girl, and she struggled, and it was very distressing for her, right? So they've gone with a neurotypical. Now, this person's tweeted and said, well, I've done professional acting roles before. If you were going to recast, then I would have been quite happy to, audition, and I would have been, being able to do it. But if you read this tweet, it is so eloquently written, and so it's obviously from a high functioning autistic person. So my question is this, right? This is my question. If that particular person, yes, she's
I know where this is headed, actually. This makes a lot of sense.
She's classified ASD. That is her diagnosis. I'm not taking that away from her, right? But if she has all of that capability, and the bottom line that we're arguing here is equality, then why is she more qualified to do that role than a neurotypical? Because this
her lived experience
person, she's not nonverbal. She might be on the spectrum, but she's not nonverbal. She has a completely different profile. So why is it that because she has a diagnosis of ASD, she is more qualified to be in that role than a neurotypical, if what we're arguing is equality in the first place? That's my question. Like, I have seen the trailer. I've seen the trailer for Music, and like much of Sia's work, and I love her for this. She's so innovative, and she's so whimsical, and she's so outside the square. It's so refreshing to see her work, right? So not only is it an acting role, but it is also it's very musical in nature, and it's very it's a very high production, high budget sort of production with a lot going on. I just don't think that an ASD person would satisfy that role. Like, I mean, when you're making a movie, it doesn't matter whether you're making a movie, you're writing a book, you're writing doing an album, whatever. You've got budget constraints, right? And you need to be hitting your markers every day. Are you not?
Yep.
Right. So the likelihood of someone who is non-verbal and who is who fits the same profile as the lead character that SIA is portraying in this movie. I'm not saying it can't happen. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it can't happen, but the likelihood of someone of that profile fitting that criteria is very low.
Yeah, I think it's a bit silly, to be honest with you. It's just like social justice gone crazy. Like, I don't understand. At the end of the day, I get trying to, obviously, where there's opportunities to help a certain minority of person, that makes sense. But in this case, this is the actual work that you do is called acting. So
it's an acting role.
It's pretending to be something that you actually aren't. So that's why you hire professional actors. That's not to say someone who is on the spectrum can't become a professional actor. That's not what I'm saying.
We're not saying that at all. We're not saying that at all.
But in the rules of equality, you treat everyone equally, right? So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what, you're not going to, it's almost like saying, what's a great example of it? Like they created an example is that like for the Olympics, right? They've got the Paralympics, which obviously is Olympics for people with obviously disabilities of some kind. But they don't race them against able-bodied people because it's just different. Like so, and that's okay as well.
Yeah.
Just like women and men's footy, like these are all things that happen. Like, so in this case, everyone's just an actor. Anyone can be an actor, and you just
Dustin Hoffman wasn't autistic.
Yeah, exactly.
He wasn't autistic. What about Leonardo DiCaprio? Tom Hanks. What about Leonardo DiCaprio in What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
What's Eating Russell Gilbert?
What? But he doesn't have a disability. Where was the outrage then? Oh, well, we didn't have social media then, so yeah, fair call. But my point is that I don't think, and I'm actually disappointed that what Sia's done is she's trying to, through that story, she's raising awareness.
No,
she's raising awareness for our community, right? Which is a good thing. It's a good thing. And then people have to come in and make her like try and convince others that her motives are wrong, and they're not.
Well, and this is the thing that Annie, I think, is the best at sort of grounding me at as well. Actually says it all the time. Like, yeah, actually, you're 100% right. Like, how many people are we talking about? I think there's a whole thing of outrage amplitude. Like, it's literally amplification. So like news outlets and stuff like that, they hear something like, ooh, a little bit of controversy, and they will just turn that into some stupid story that doesn't deserve any legs whatsoever. There was probably in the whole world probably 500 people who were actually offended by that. And that's it. So it's more than it actually is. Time to move on. It's time to stop. We shouldn't not listen to people's opinions, but when we hear them and they're stupid, we should just ignore them.
Well, I really don't understand the argument. Is this just people who had an acting dream and felt robbed And so they've got this kind of...
Well, it happened not that long ago as well with a Scarlett Johansson movie where she was going to play a transgender person, and they're like, "Why don't you get a transgender woman?" It's like, mate, the movie was going to sell because Scarlett Johansson was in there.
And you don't know. And
Transgender
the other thing is, you don't know what a lot of people don't realize is so many directors like Tim Burton and Johnny Depp is a great example, right? They've got a rhythm. They've created a rhythm and a synchronicity between themselves, and the director keeps casting that particular actor because they know they're going to get this, and this out of them. They've got, it's why we work together, because we know that we have a rhythm, we have a tone. We don't have to work for it to happen. It just happens, right?
Mm.
So a lot of casting is done that way because there's an understanding that creatively these people are going to work really well together, right? And so if this girl has done a lot of work with SIA already, there's obviously, like, SIA knows, okay, this girl's capable of this, and this creatively. That's what I need. You got the job.
Mm.
What's wrong with that?
Mm.
Why is she being made to feel?
No, and that's what I mean. It's like
a bad person. That's just ridiculous.
It's way more than it actually is. I'm starting to believe that as 100% of things. Like, you get, they say, well, is it like you are what you consume. So if you actually, continuously hear these things, these different outrage things, it's like, are people really outraged? But then you talk to most normal people, and everyone's kind of got an opinion, but they're never so strong to sound too ridiculous. And and it's fine. They can be outraged if they want, but it's misplaced outrage, in my opinion.
It's misplaced,
there's bigger problems in the world that you could invest such energy into, I think.
Yeah, I'm really upset that when people are trying to do something good,
exactly,
they cop that kind of ridiculous backlash.
Which takes us to the next topic, actually, which is kind of in line with it. And for those of you who are not aware, our good friends at Nestle, who own the confectionery company Allen's, decided that they would change the name, finally, of the extremely offensive and racist lollies, which have been around forever. The Redskin and the Chico. That's what it used to be called. Chico? What is it? Chico? I still don't know. Chico.
I don't care.
I never ate.
They taste amazing.
I'd never really eaten both of them, but
They're so good.
Obviously I would have loved to have seen like the boardroom at Nestle that time's like, oh, it's getting to that stage. Was that racial tension meter up against Redskins and Chicos? And it was like pushing, and got to the stage where like, we need to change the name. People are outraged of this little brown baby and a derogatory term towards Native Americans. Cool. Let's change it. You know what they came up with? Red Ripper and Cheekies. Cheekies.
Red Ripper and Cheekies. Now, okay. I'm going to say this, right? I'm going to say this. I can't speak for the Redskins because I'm not Native American and I don't know how offensive that is to that community.
I've got perspective.
So I can't. I feel disqualified to have an opinion on that. Chicos are Chicos, and they will always be Chicos. As a brown person, right? I have absolutely no offense to the name. I didn't even know it was an offensive name. What's wrong with Chicos? Did you ever like open a packet of Chicos?
Choco.
I still didn't care.
Imagine, it would have been funny. is a white supremacist opening a bag of Chicos and looking, going, brown lollies,
Brown baby.
brown babies, get out of here. But I just think.
What do you think?
I think it's. I get what they're trying. I don't get what they're trying to do, but like,
good. The intention's good.
Yeah, right? But that's the thing with political correctness. It's getting to a stage where who are you doing it for, really? Like, things have lost. There's things where words have meaning, and there's things where words just turn into something else, right? And a great example of that is band names. I love that. It's my favorite thing is like looking at like Red Hot Chili Peppers. You know, like from a perspective of, you hear that, you don't think of an actual chili pepper, like a red hot flaming chili. You think of the band. It's just a word associated with something.
Yeah.
And that's what they think. I heard about, like, was it with the Washington Redskins? So they were called, the football team in America were called the Redskins. And I think they've changed their name, but there's been like this whole thing about how they said like people who were from whatever that, is it tribe? Is that what they call them? Tribes? I don't know what the correct terminology is, but I think they used to see it as a thing of honor that they've actually named a football team after us. Like, how honorable, like that, you know, a whole football team is named after our people. And you're like, cool. Like, and that makes sense to me. Like, I don't know who they're doing it for. I think they're really doing it for other white people.
I feel like a couple of things. Number one, all of this always comes back to intention. Like, what is their intention? What are they trying to do, right? And I think they're trying to do a good thing. I think they're trying to be respectful, which is that's cool. Like, I respect that. I honor that. But I guess it's come to a point where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Well, the best one I think to this day, which in context of the actual word, when I hear it, I'm like, yeah, that's bad. When you actually know, when you understand the word now, the cheese, right? Coon, like, it's such an offensive word, but it was just someone's name. It was just someone's name.
But I don't think the cheese thought it through that thoroughly to be just like coon.
Yeah.
But even that's changed now, right?
Yeah. I
didn't care. Did you care?
Nah. I got 5 minutes, so we're gonna have to wrap it up. But I find all this stuff so interesting now, like the people getting offended by this, by that. Like,
are they? And
yeah, they are.
And who is they? I want to know who they are, because
this is good. This is something we'll get into more next week. But I had this really good discussion, and I think I was typing to you about it with some of Annie's mum's friends, and they were what I would call, you know, well-to-do people from the inner areas of Melbourne, and, you know, Australian people. And we had really good discussion, actually, really good discussion. For the first time in a long time, someone who just thought I was Australian, actually. It was really cool. I was like, cool. Well, I'm not. So that's good that you just thought that. And then, because they were talking about, like, you know, the history of Australia's colonialism and yada, yada. I'm like, and that's when I was like, look, I don't get the whole original sin, white guilt thing. If you're acting because you feel bad, that's the wrong reason to do it. You should be just be acting because you want to be a good person. What happened in the past, you had nothing to do. Stop thinking that you can do anything now to change that. It's happened. We can recognize the bad. It happened. But nothing to do with you.
You have no responsibility. Yeah.
None. Like, Hitler's grandkid has nothing to do with Hitler.
No, of course not.
Poor bastard, but, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, Hitler's grandkid. Have you heard about Jono? Hitler's grandkid. So yeah, I want to dive into that a lot more. Actually, I find it really interesting. Like, and I gave them the perspective, like, oh, how we found out slave traders and slaves on the other side. It's just, you know, life is like a box of chocolates.
The chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
And on that note, that's a great way to end. Southstar, it's been great talking to you. I really liked your perspective on the whole SIA thing. So I think that's going to make, hopefully people will listen to it and, you know, enjoy your thoughts from, I guess, an actual perspective of a mother of kids on the spectrum. So thank you for sharing your perspective, Sally.
I am always happy to share perspective.
And your perspective, and your perspective. Sorry to cut you off, and your perspective on brown baby lollies.
Well, you know what I was going to say there.
As a person of colour, I find that we need to talk about that next week as well. In line with white guilt, person of colour. This is the most condescending term ever.
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm brainstorming here. But no, let's end now. It was great to talk to you.
You too, dude.
Take it easy.
See ya. Bye.